Hello there, folks. I'm Dan Brown from a sort of interesting life.com. You're joining me on board good old narrowboat Tilly, and today we've got another instalment of my ongoing series of reviews and recommendations for podcasts, audiobooks, real books, and other things like that I think that you might enjoy. And today we've got another independently produced podcast, which I think is probably one of my all-time favourite series of anything ever, whether that's TV, radio, or podcasts, or YouTube, or whatever. And that, without me going listing every type of media ever, this series is The History of Rome by Mike Duncan. And I cannot explain to you just how awesome this series is. I mean, it's fantastic. And I mean, I love Roman history and ancient history, that sort of thing. If you've watched these videos, you might hear me mention that sort of thing every now and then. And again, normally the only books that I ever have on board are something to do with the stuff that happened thousands of years ago, basically. So the History of Rome podcast, I cannot explain to you. It's fantastic. It's really well put together and researched and thought out and produced and recorded and presented. Everything's perfect about it. But I think the thing that I think makes it even better than just like the sum of its sort of production value is the fact that it's such an epic series in not only the scale of dealing with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of Roman history, but also the fact that the series literally was released over years and years and years, and as well, like I say, come to a point where it's about 200 episodes, and the series ended now, which doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen to it. It means, if anything, that it's the perfect time to start listening, because, I mean, I've literally listened to this over the winter before last while I was on board. I literally was doing a lot of painting and stuff, and I re-listened to the whole series, and I mean, it took me forever to go through because it's hours and hours and hours long. But basically, it starts off in the sort of, well, in the mythical era of Rome and its founding and all that sort of stuff, and then moves into the sort of more historical era, and then everything starts to fall apart and what have you. But basically, I think the thing that I say that made it so good when it was being released was that it was so sort of steadfast and steady in its release schedule. The earlier episodes were about 10 to 15 minutes long, but then it soon became more of a half an hour every episode release. I don't know what I'm trying to say with that sentence, but basically the later episodes were all half an hour per episode. The last numbered episode is episode 179. But there's actually more episodes than just that, because some of the earlier episodes will be like episode insert number, part A, part B, and so on, released as individual bits. And I mean, I just can't explain to you how fantastic this series is. If you've ever been interested in in Roman history, or what on earth went on to make Rome such a sort of legendary thing and such a massive empire, then this series literally goes from the very beginnings and, like I say, the mythological foundings right through like the absolute heyday and the incredible sort of heights that it reached, to then everything starting to fall apart and things not quite going as planned. And again, it's an epic part of history over hundreds and hundreds, well, the best part of 1,000 years, but also it's an epic series that, again, took years and years to produce and release, and I think that shows. And again, I'm not going to talk too much about this as we are approaching 4 minutes. I want these videos to be a lot shorter than my usual ramblings, but basically, The History of Rome, definitely check this out. It is absolutely fantastic. Anyway, let's wrap this up, and I'll also use this as a perfect moment to plug my audiobook. So, if you are interested in learning more about my life afloat, or looking over my shoulder as I tried to figure everything out in my first year on board Tilly, then please do consider checking out my short audiobook of my first Kindle book, The Narrowboat Lad. You'll find a link to that in the description. You might even be able to get it free off Audible if you haven't already got an account there. But again, I'll leave you with the links in the description, and you'll also find my normal Kindle books there as well. Loads of boat stuff to be seen. Feel free to check out the hundreds of videos of boat life and more on this YouTube channel too. Until the next time, have an absolutely fantastic day. Keep it boat worthy, and of course, farewell.